Mourinho once called out Manchester United for stacking the squad with dead wood players who kept the team from reaching its potential.
Where they play, how they play, if they play.
But here's the thing, Ruben Amorim, he's smarter than that. He knows exactly who to keep, move on, and why. So what would his United rebuild look like? And which players would he replace them with? Well, let's talk about it.
I have just seen history in the making. I have just seen Amorim Ball absolutely obliterate Pep Ball.
Ruben Amorim, the tactical genius who turned Sporting Lisbon into one of Europe's most exciting teams, has now taken over the reins at Manchester United. But here's the kicker. He's not your typical take it slow and build type of manager. No, Ruben is all about intensity. The guy doesn't just want players who can jog around for 90 minutes. He demands warriors, players who can run, press, and dominate like their lives depend on it. He showed this when they played Manchester City after his players went on to concede just 4 minutes into the match. They showed great mental strength to get back to win the game 4-1. What was surprising was that with them leading the game 2-1, you could see that Amorim still wanted them to score much more, which is something most of the Manchester United players lack, a strong mentality. But this is something that Amorim would address. But let's be real for a second. Amorim knows what he's walking into. He would have watched many of their games. He's studied the sloppy passes, the lackluster pressing, and those moments where the team looks stuck in second gear. And here's the thing, he's not coming to adjust his style for the Premier League. No. He's coming to make sure the squad can meet his high-octane standards. That means one thing, big changes. Amorim knows his Sporting team worked because every single player bought into his system was vetted by him. He'll look at United's squad and think, who can run my show in the world's toughest league? And let's face it, if you're not up to scratch, Ruben will not hesitate to bench you. Or even worse, move you on. That is the Jose Mourinho mentality. But the big question is, does United have players that are good enough? Let's get one thing straight. Manchester United doesn't exactly lack talent. Over recent years, they've signed some genuinely good players. Think of Bruno Fernandes, who has been a midfield maestro since his arrival, or Casemiro, who brought a sense of authority and composure to the squad last season. Even Lisandro Martinez, despite doubts about his size, proved to be an absolute rock at the back. These guys have delivered for United. But for every Bruno, there was Anthony Martial, a player who teases brilliance but leaves fans wondering, what if? And then there are players like Harry Maguire, signed for a jaw-dropping £80 million, or Anthony, brought in for a staggering £85 million. Sure, they had their moments, but those price tags, let's say they haven't exactly been justified. And here's the thing, this isn't just about splashing cash and hoping for the best. The real problem lies in the sheer mismatch of signings. You see, United have been through a carousel of managers since Sir Alex Ferguson retired, each with their own philosophy and style. And each of these coaches signed players who fit their specific system, but not necessarily Manchester United's long-term vision. I mean, David Moyes wanted players for his pragmatic, grind-it-out football. He went for Marouane Fellaini, a battering ram in the midfield. But that style was never going to wow Old Trafford and got him sacked. Louis van Gaal came in with his possession-heavy, methodical approach, and he brought in players like Memphis Depay and Bastian Schweinsteiger. But the rigid system didn't suit the Premier League's intensity, and he also got sacked, leaving his players. Then Jose Mourinho came in with the defensive mastermind, filled the squad with powerhouses like Romelu Lukaku and Nemanja Matic, players built for counter-attacking football. It worked for a while, but then the cracks appeared. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer leaned into fast-attacking football and signed players like Jadon Sancho, but the lack of consistency in his system didn't help anyone. And then there was Ten Hag, who tried to play attacking football, but was obsessed with playing with the players he had either played with or were Dutch players. He also got sacked, again leaving his players. This constant cycle of managers with contrasting philosophies has left United's squad feeling like a jigsaw puzzle with pieces from completely different sets. Each new manager inherits a roster that doesn't fully fit their vision, creating a chain reaction where players are replaced again and again. It's less of a rebuild and more of a never-ending patch job. So, is the squad bad? Well, not entirely. But Ruben Amorim would inherit a team full of players who've been caught in this post-Ferguson identity crisis. And that's a massive concern for a manager who thrives on cohesion and clarity. But to understand what Amorim wants, we need to understand his style. He plays a 3-4-2-1 setup that's as fluid as water. But here's the kicker. Amorim's system isn't just about sticking to a formation. It's like a transformer, constantly adapting depending on the phase of play. Let's start with how his team builds from the back. Amorim's teams treat possession like gold. His goalkeeper is another outfield player, and the three centre-backs, they're not just defenders, they're playmakers. The outside centre-backs push up aggressively, looking to break lines with their passing, while the central one stays back to sweep up any danger. Now let's move to the midfield. Amorim typically deploys a classic number 6, a tough-tackling, ball-winning midfielder, and pairs them with a number 8 who has the freedom to push forward and join attacks. It's a combo that gives his team balance, creativity, and a solid defensive shield. But wait, there's more. The wing-backs in Amorim's system are like Swiss Army knives. On the right, you've got a more attacking wing-back who's usually left-footed. This creates a dynamic crossing threat. Meanwhile, on the left, the wing-back stays deeper, focusing on threading through balls and hitting pinpoint crosses. This asymmetry makes his teams incredibly unpredictable. Up front, things get interesting. The two attacking midfielders, or inside forwards, are a nightmare for defenders. One's a creative playmaker, threading killer passes, while the other is more of a direct runner, charging into the box like a freight train. And the striker? Well, think of someone who can hold up the ball, run the channels, and terrorize centre-backs. Now, when his team doesn't have the ball, Amorim flips the script. His pressing game is relentless. Picture a pentagon-shaped pressing unit made up of the front three and the two midfielders. They hunt in packs, forcing opponents into mistakes. And if the press doesn't work, his team drops into a compact 5-4-1 shape, clogging the middle and daring the opposition to attack wide. This system isn't just about defense or attack, it's about control. Control in possession, control in transitions, and control in defense. Amorim's tactics was not just to win but to dominate football. So why does this matter? Because this style isn't just about winning games, it's about changing the way the team thinks about football. Ruben Amorim is here to show the world how it's done, but with the players he has at his disposal, would he be able to replicate that same style? Well, this might surprise you, but I think so. But before we get into the details, please click the subscribe button below. Thank you. Andre Onana is a perfect fit for the goalkeeping position because of his ability to distribute the ball under pressure and calmness in possession, which is something that Amorim desires. But sticking to Andre Onana would basically mean that Bayern would have to look for a new club, because now he might not get that much game time that he might wish to have, as he does not possess that same ability as Onana. Then the three centre-backs are where we might have a lot of issues. They have Lindelof, Shaw, Maguire, Martinez, Johnny Evans, and new signings like De Ligt and Leny Yoro. Leny Yoro starts because of his ability on the ball and the speed he possesses to deal with pacey wingers in the league. The centre-back also seems to be covered, as they have De Ligt, who does not seem to be new in that role because of his commanding presence, aerial dominance, and calmness under pressure, which make him a natural leader for this setup. At left centre-back, we might have Martinez, but my fear is if he can cover a lot of ground like a fullback. We've seen in past games that he's not that good when asked to follow wingers, but he can do a good job. But a player that Amorim would consider using is Shaw because of his speed and his ability to defend the wide areas. His delivery from wide areas would also add another dimension to the team's attacking plays. But what then happens to Maguire, Lindelof and Johnny Evans? Evans could sometimes slot into the centre-back, but players like Harry Maguire and Lindelof just don't fit into this setup. But in the long run, we could see someone like Diamande being bought in. Now to the wing-backs. On the right, Noussair Mazraoui, Diogo Diallo, or even Alejandro Garnacho might fill the role. Yes, Garnacho as a wing-back is unconventional, but his pace, dribbling, and ability to play off the right could make him an exciting, high-risk, high-reward option, provided he improves his defensive discipline. But this does take him far from the goal where he would not be able to function properly. But I do see Openda being brought in to play that wing because of his style of play. He can attack, pass, and most of all defend well. On the left, Tyrell Malacia and Diallo are options, but Amorim would likely push to bring in Álvaro Fernandes back to Old Trafford. Fernandes has the energy, creativity, and positional awareness that Amorim values. His ability to attack from deep and deliver quality balls into the box could be key to unlocking tough defenses. But bringing someone like Álvaro back means we might see someone like Malacia being pushed out. In midfield, Amorim would prioritize control and energy. Kobbie Mainoo would thrive as a dynamic presence, linking defense and attack, while Manuel Ugarte could anchor the midfield. Ugarte's tenacity, ability to win the ball, and calmness in possession would give United the solidity they need in the centre of the park. But the big question is, what does this mean for players like Casemiro and Eriksen? Would they be sold out? And for someone like Gore who's still young, it might be harder for him to break into the first team. Further forward, Amorim would likely lean on a dual playmaker system, mirroring what he did at Sporting. Bruno Fernandes would undoubtedly be central to this plan, with his vision and creativity being irreplaceable. Alongside him, Amad Diallo could bring flair and unpredictability, though Mason Mount might rotate in for games requiring more pressing and work rate. I think a player who would benefit from this role again would be Shea Lacey, because of his style of dribbling. He could also be an understudy to Amad Diallo. Up top, Amorim's system would call for a versatile forward who can press, create space, and score goals. While Rasmus Højlund seems the obvious pick, Amorim might experiment with Marcus Rashford as a striker. Rashford's dribbling ability, pace, and finishing could make him a devastating presence. Similar to how Amorim uses Viktor Gyökeres at Sporting, Rashford could occupy central spaces, run in behind, and dominate in one-on-one situations, maximising his strengths. But this would be at the cost of players like Xerxes or Ethan Wheatley, who are both looking for opportunities to shine. So as good as this system is, it leaves out some of the United players, and this might affect the progression of youth players from the academy. But aside from not fitting his team, why should Manchester United's players be scared? First, Amorim has an obsession with discipline. Leaks from the dressing room, late to training, slacking off. Amorim is the manager who will drop you faster than you can say football. He's all about accountability. This isn't the time for egos or side projects. He's here to win, and if you're not fully on board, there's no second chance. Discipline is one of the areas that was slacked off under Ten Hag, like the Sancho situation, which I believe won't have happened under Amorim because of his man management style. Also, he has an obsession with playing young players. I mean, the old players at Manchester United might have to dust off their resumes. Ruben has this thing for youth development. He turned Sporting CP into a title-winning team by trusting young, hungry players like Nuno Mendes and Pedro Gonçalves. If you're a seasoned player who's just here to vibe, don't be surprised if a 19-year-old takes his spot. So yeah, if I were a United player right now, I'd be sweating just a little. Ruben Amorim isn't here to make friends. He's here to shake things up, and if you're not ready to step up, well, it's going to be a rough ride. But what do you think? Do you think players like Maguire, Casemiro and Xerxes will be pushed out, or would they be used as a backup option? Let me know in the comments, and while you do that, watch this video on how Amorim would transform United.